Awesome. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this this webinar, this professional development series. We're really excited to have you. With me today are members of my Institutional Success for People of Color Task Force, along with some other faculty members. I guess a faculty member who's going to help present on some of the work that she's been doing within her college specifically. But we want to be conscious of the racial climate in the state right now, and go over some of the things that the SSCCC has done and how we as student leaders can kind of rally alongside them. So first off, I want to talk to you about the action plan. In the wake of the George Floyd murder, right, the SSCCC was very intentional on forming a task force to go through the system and pinpoint some of the things that students are struggling from. And by doing this, what we decided to do was start listening tours. We convened some town halls where we literally just sat down and listened to students. We wanted to hear what's going on your campus. What are some of the issues that you were dealing with specifically as students? And by doing this, the ISPCTF, or the task force, we were able to pinpoint some pillars and some very key situations that were happening within the California Community College system. And I want to go over what those were and kind of highlight them for you. So first off, we wanted to cover cultural awareness and respect. That was our first pillar of concern for our students. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to confront and address racial profiling and microaggressions. These usually happen within the classroom. So we wanted to talk about within the school itself, not just the classroom, the racial profiling and the microaggressions. We wanted to create an environment where students can thrive while being their authentic selves. Some students during our town hall were stating that, they didn't feel like they can express themselves freely. We had a student that said he didn't feel like he could wear his hair out because of, the profiling that he was getting because of that. So we wanted to address the cultural awareness and respect on the campus. We also wanted to deal with equity training. And specifically within equity training, we wanted to provide an opportunity for students to be involved in the equity training development. So what usually happens is staff get equity training, right? They're supposed to be trained on how to deal with racial biases and things that happen within the class. We didn't see were students being a part of that conversation. To me and to the rest of the task force and to students, we were saying, if a faculty member was going to be trained on how to address student interactions, right? So say a student's racially profiled within their classroom. If a staff member is going to say, this is how we want you to respond to that student experience, why wouldn't a student tell you, hey, this is how I want to be responded to, right? We should be in that conversation trying to guide the conversation about, how that response should be administered by that faculty member. It's one thing for you to have an outside lens to be able to adjust to that, but as a student, being the one that's feeling that racial profiling, we should be able to provide our input in that process. We also wanted to require student orientations, new student orientations, to include anti-racism and microaggression training. We want students' rights in the grievance process and where to go to report instances of racism and microaggression. We want that all dealt with at the beginning. A student walks in on their first day on the new campus. They receive their new student orientation. They should be able to know what their rights are in the grievance process. If they have a complaint, where should they go? A lot of schools don't even have that set up yet on their campus to where you can file a complaint and who you need to go to file that complaint. My school doesn't have that yet, and that's something that we're working through right now. We wanted to have them like I said, trained on anti-racism and microaggressions at the very beginning, so they can address that before their time there at that college. We also talked about curriculum changes. We wanted to integrate Black history, Black contributions, Black culture, and other cultures of color into all curriculum. So I know that there's been that recent bill that's passed to allow for ethnic studies or have an ethnic study requirement within the CSU system. Well, we wanted it to be more intentional. We want to see contributions from people of color in philosophy, in biology, in our social sciences, right? So we wanted to see that intentional look at curriculum. We wanted to add cultural studies departments. A lot of schools out there don't have cultural studies departments, ethnic study departments, or even a center, an ethnic studies center or a cultural studies center defined on each campus, so students have that as a resource. The students also talked about peer mentors and alliances. Having resources with each other is key. So we wanted them to be able to facilitate communication between student groups, to connect and understand the points of view and what they go through, right? So we wanted, we had some colleges have Black student unions and different student unions on campus. We wanted them to be able to connect and understand the points of views and what they go through. So whether that's in the governance process, whether they're connecting with the student government, to talk that out, that's the facilitation of the communication right there. We wanted to form a participatory governance committee. There's budget committees on campus. There's curriculum committees on campus, but not a lot of campuses have an equity committee or a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. So we wanted to make that committee on campus, have faculty there, have students there in the room addressing equity and what that looks like on their campuses. We wanted that to be a platform for policy recommendations and administrative remedies, students coming and saying, hey, this is how our campus can be more equitable. How can we address this? And the administration coming alongside and saying, well, let's focus on this with this policy or that policy. And then last, the classroom experience. We want to hire more diverse faculty. I think that's just been a resounding concern from a lot of students is we want the faculty to look like the student population. The student population is, especially like at my campus, we're 80% Latino. So, and each campus is different, but we have such a huge population of students of color, yet our faculty don't really reflect that. We want to see more reflection of that within the faculty. We want to require anti-racism statements. The Student Senate actually just adopted a diversity and anti-racism statement. We sent out a template statement to our student body associations. So all 116 colleges received that statement that they can adopt if they so wish, and adopt within their student body association, so that way they have a diversity statement on their campus. We want to require those types of statements. We want to require the student grievance process. We want to require where to go to talk to someone when experiencing microaggressions, and we want to require those types of grievance processes within the syllabus of each college class. So as a student, you take a class, you receive a syllabus. That's just the deal, right? You enroll in a class, the teacher already tells you, you have to read the syllabus first day. So why not have a section in there that has an anti-racism statement, that has a place for students to go to file grievance processes and to file complaints and things of that matter. So that's what we looked at as a task force. From the stories that we heard from students, the document is pretty inclusive it goes into a lot more detail. Some of the things that were brought up, but that's some of the highlights. So at this time, I just kind of want to open it up for questions. If you have any questions about what I just went through before we do a little bit of a question and answer process.
Here, I don't see any chats in the chat box.
And thank you, Dr. Adams. The report has just been put into the chat if you'd like to see the report. All right, well, if there's no questions at this time, I will save some time for questions at the end. And what we'll do right now is we will, I have some questions that I want to ask of my task force members. And anyone in the public also, if you were a part of any of our town halls or our listening tours, if you have answers to these questions or you want to expand on them at all, please raise your hand or just wish to be recognized, and we'll go through that. But first off, I want to ask, during the town hall meetings, what stories from our students or from our faculty members, what stories most spoke to you? So task force members, members of the public, if you have an answer to that question, let's get into that.
Stephen, I can go.
All right, thank you, Gerardo. Go ahead.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Gerardo. I'm the Region 9 Regional Affairs Director, and I am a member of this task force. In the first town hall that we held, there's the story that stood out the most. All of the stories that were heard were impactful, and they were very unfortunate of the system that we have. But there was one specific story that came from a student from La Sierra College, and he came late to his class with his friend, and the professor kind of called him out, saying like, "You're late." And, he chuckled, and then he went to his seat. And when he sat down, one of his classmates turned around to him and told him, "Is that what you do in your country?" Obviously, we know the context of that comment. And for me, hearing that story, it was a punch in the gut, knowing that we still have those types of comments in our classrooms. We like to think that we live in a very liberal state and very accepting, but that is the harsh reality that some of our students, they face those circumstances. And the professor heard the comment, and he didn't do anything. Instead of saying, "Don't say that," or confronting the person who made that hurtful comment, the professor just simply dismissed it in order to not create a bigger deal. So that story gave me the reason why we're here. Hearing that story is the reason why we have this plan of action. And all the stories, like I said, were very impactful. But this one, just hearing that those words, "Is that what you do in your country?" Little did they know that the students were actually born here, even though their parents they came from somewhere else. So that's the story that impacted me the most.
Thank you, Gerardo. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that was a very impactful story from that student. And we even got into a conversation on how you might want to address that. Do we call that student out for saying that? Do we have a separate conversation maybe after the fact? So, situations like that make us think, how will we want to deal with that? And how do you go about that class after getting called out like that? So it's pretty crazy. Any other stories that came about from that?
I can go. So I was also part of the task force, and that story did resonate with me a lot. And another one that impacted me as well was the Sierra college student who was part of that situation, because his friend was the one that got told to go back to, or like, this is how you do it in your country. He also said that he didn't really want to, you know, make it a big commotion. He just wanted to let it go because that's what he's used to doing. He didn't really, like, I don't want to say embrace his culture, but he just knew that it could get into a big commotion. And I think with that, like, I grew up in a not very diverse area, so there's only a couple diverse students just growing up. And in elementary school, we would like watch movies on rainy days, and a lot of people would like kind of make fun of me and like correlate that with me. And I honestly hated my culture so much. I didn't want to embrace it. I like, anytime my parents brought it up, I'd be like, no, I don't want to talk about it. But as I got older and with everything that's happening now in society, I noticed like it is important to embrace your culture and like really stand up for what you represent. There's been a couple times when I was in middle school and high school where kids have driven by and, you know, called my dad racist names, like, go back to your country, you don't deserve to be here, just because of the color of his skin, which is really unfortunate. So those stories, along with many others that were told during the town hall, really impact not only people who have gone through similar situations, but people who don't know what it's like for kind of the other side and what they go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for that. And I think it kind of reminds me, or it just kind of brings back to my attention, you know, we go to a community college. Community colleges were established to be there for the community, right? To be involved in that community and to provide a community-like experience. And for issues like that to happen on a campus, we're not being very much of a community to those students, right? We're singling them out, we're ostracizing them, and yeah, we just that's not what we were built upon. So it's definitely something that we need to address. Any other comments? I see Ruby has her hand raised. Oop. Ruby, did you still want to speak? I seen your hand was raised.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself.
Sorry, gotcha.
I think I wasn't here for the town hall, so unfortunately, I couldn't hear the stories. But I think there is one thing that I experienced that was harder than having faculty that was more diverse, is actually having the school that is diverse. I attended schools that were mostly like white, like you barely could see anybody of especially like Latinx community. You know, there was not a lot of people from the Latinx community. There were a few Black people here and there, you know, the students, but like I experienced a lot of I guess a little bit of discrimination among the students, you know, because I can tell, I'm always asked like where I'm from and everything like that. And I'm like, why don't I see them asking the white people that? Like, why is it only me? It's like, I always have the feeling that the parents are always the ones that are telling the kids to ask me. So like, oh, it's okay that I can be their friend, you know? So I think that's the harder thing, is having the schools be more diverse, because you can have faculty, but then it's also the students that create the atmosphere as a whole. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know that there are schools like that out there, right? I know I went to a private elementary school where I was probably one of the only students of color. So, you know, it's easy in those situations to be the odd person out, and it's kind of crazy when they do ask you that, you know, where are you from? And like you said, you know, why aren't they asking white people the same thing? And it's kind of that ingrained ideology in your head that, oh, they're from here and you're not. So yeah, that's definitely, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Leave it open. I can start calling on people. All right, well, I will move on to another question. Are there any other, because we were talking about, what we heard in the town hall. Like Ruby said, are there any other situations that you've heard of, maybe that happened on your campus, that you'd like to speak about? I see Rad Region 3.
All right. Hey, everyone. So this doesn't necessarily happen on my campus, but a few months ago, I've heard recently about students at Laney College, a student at Laney College here in the Bay Area, and they were in a classroom where, and I believe I don't remember the ethnicity of the student, but I know that what had happened was the student had a name that sounded very similar to an English cuss word. And unfortunately, the student was addressed by the teacher over email about anglicizing their name. And I just felt like that probably happens a lot more than is always reported within our CCC system. And I just felt like what I heard about that was something that wasn't right. Students of all different backgrounds shouldn't change their culture, their name, their names that are part of their identity as a student of color, just for the comfort of their teacher, who unfortunately, not unfortunately, but the teacher who was a white faculty member who clearly discriminated against the student for, again, their name, which came from a different language other than English. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people heard that story. That kind of resonated with a lot of people. Asking to have to change your birth name because other people aren't comfortable with it or can't pronounce it. I don't think we should ever have to change somebody's culture just because you're uneasy about it. So, any other comments or suggestions, or not suggestions, or stories? All right, well, while you're thinking, I am going to ask Kelly. Kelly is here. She is a faculty member. Kelly, I want to say, is it Butte? I believe it was Butte College. And she has been working with her local SBA. We want to kind of direct this conversation. All right, we have this action plan. Now, what can we do with it? And Kelly is an advisor for a student body association. Kelly, you can introduce yourself and then kind of go into a little bit more of how we as students can ally with our faculty and with our administration, with our staff to implement this action plan on campus.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Munson. I use she, her pronouns. I work at Butte College up in Northern California. We are one of the feeder schools to Chico State, so up pretty far north in Region 1. I am white. I in pretty much all of the dominant groups, which makes me not the most likely spokesperson here. But I am working on a team of faculty, staff, and students from entities, and I happen to be pretty good at I'm only representing our group because of a part of the process that we thought would be helpful for you, not because I am the leader of this group, just to say that. So when, of course, as Stephen was mentioning, what the events that happened this spring and the summer and have continued in the fall have raised everybody's awareness beyond what it already was focused on at Butte. We just were having a hard time making as much movement as we wanted to. And sadly, sometimes the events of the world help shake us in ways that we can't shake ourselves. So after George Floyd's death, it was this summer, our new AS team came together right away and said, you know, we need to respond. We need to take more action. And so even though they weren't officially in their roles, we came together over the summer and they immediately created a statement of solidarity while things were starting with the town halls as well. So I wanted to walk you through some of the things that we've done since writing that statement of solidarity, in case maybe there's things that you've already done or you're looking for ideas. And then I want to share ultimately this chart with you that's helping us organize our action from here on out. So one of our first things that we've done is to find every committee on campus that we can and make sure that a student is attending that committee. Using their participatory governance process and making sure we get students of color at the table as much as possible, not only students of color, but really working with our identity-based groups to empower those students to serve. We have been getting really involved with our book of the year, which was already chosen last January, which is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. So our students have been involved with planning some activities with that. In fact, our student trustee and our academic senate rep, our student academic senate rep, at the beginning of their report at each Board of Trustees and Senate meeting, they read a quote from the book to help keep that in the forefront of our faculty and trustees' minds. Our students have been encouraged to attend the statewide and also local webinars that we've been offering to get them, again, some background that our faculty are getting. We've pushed to have them invited to everything that's being offered to faculty and staff. We've asked that our student government officers be invited to those as well and paid to attend. And then we've also been reaching out to our identity-based groups. It's one of the things on the list here that Stephen went over is to unite people. We have, 38 different clubs and they're all going in different directions. We've specifically been working with our identity-based groups to, connect them in their efforts and amplify their voices together. So then comes into this action plan from the state, which is wonderful. It's really great to have something written down. And our students immediately say, well, let's do all of this. And as the advisor, part of my role is, okay, so what would that look like to do all of it? Some of them are only here for 8 more months. We're doing everything on Zoom. So we talked about, well, how would we prioritize this list and how would we choose what we want to focus on this year? And part of that process was to look at what is already happening on campus. So this, I'm going to share my screen. We'll see if I can share more of it, maybe, no? Actually, let me try it again. Okay. So this is just an Excel document. We went in and put in the different pillars. So those are the description in the yellow and then the bulleted items here in white. So I feel fortunate to say that we have quite a few groups working on these efforts already, or various lenses on these efforts. So we created a code here, and the green means that that organized group on campus is actively working on this item either through a committee or their department initiatives. The pink is that they're supporting or advocating through maybe a formal statement or a resolution or some other action. And then gray is that not within their purview to take a lead on or have not taken steps. You might argue, well, all of these are everybody's responsibility, and yet some people have more direct roles in accomplishing this, like HR type things or curriculum development. So on our campus, we have our AS. We do have a participatory governance committee called the Diversity Committee. It's faculty, staff, students, and administrators. We do have an Office of Student Equity. We have a Student Culture and Community Center that was started by our AS about 11 years ago. CPAC is our Student Equity and Achievement Programs. That is where those two big statewide grant funds came together. We have an Equal Opportunity Advisory Committee through HR. And staff are diverse and are not. Like, interesting fact is in the United States, 85% of K through 12 school teachers are white women. And I thought that was really interesting. You might read in a book this summer. So, you know, that can move as well. So our faculty on our campus. And then we have other groups not listed. So we're currently working with all of these groups to go down the list of the Senate Action Plan and to fill in these boxes. So we know what's happening, what has not happened, and what needs to happen. So the students can help decide whether they want to take on some of these on their own and take a leadership role, or they want to support and amplify work that's being done on campus through student voices. So those are some of the things that we have done so far. And just two things I would say as far as advice, and this might be old news to some of you, is to really think about who's on your team. And there's lots of different kinds of activists out there. There's people that are more radical on the front line, gonna raise their voice, be at the front of the march, you know, stand up in front of the board of trustees, adventure risk takers. There's your behind the scenes organizers that like to do charts and graphs and keep email lists, take notes. You've got people that are really good with communication or strategy. And then you have people that are really good at relationship building. So how do you build a team with different skills? And, you know, lots of people are passionate, but these kind of movements and efforts really take organization to be successful. And then also goal setting and prioritization. I'm sure many of you know it's these big systems are hard to navigate sometimes, and they can be slow and clunky. So deciding what are your priorities, setting strong goals, and then be willing to break those goals into phases. So at least if you don't get the whole thing done, you're like ready to hand off the baton to the next group. So that's the few things that we're doing. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those. I can also put my email in the chat, and I'll also put Jose Guerra, who is the leader of our Student Anti-Racism Task Force, their name in the chat too, if you want to connect with our student leader.
Awesome, thank you so much, Kelly. Those are some great tips. I really enjoy the chart. I think that's, you know, some people have a knack, like you're saying, know who's on your team. I'm not a chart person, but I'm definitely a speaker. I will go in front of a board of trustees and say whatever is on my mind. So definitely, if you have the team, know what their strengths are, work together to be able to put this action plan together and have it grow some legs and get working on your campus. Kelly has brought up some great just some great tips and tricks. I want to know, though, from the rest of you, what are some things that maybe you have done or you have started either individually or with your student body association to address equity on your campus? I think that's a great question. We can definitely learn from each other, learn from, you know, some of the things that work, some of the things that didn't work, and some of the progress that some of us are making. So does anyone have anything that they would like to share at this time? And thank you, Dr. Adams, for, if you'd like to take a download of Kelly's chart, it's in the chat.
There's a question from Ben Galinato. Do you want me to address that first, or?
Yeah, well, let's first go into the question that I just posed, and then I'll address that question right now.
Awesome. Okay.
So any tips, tricks, kind of like what Kelly was going through on implementation within your student body association, or some things that you're addressing individually on your campus?
One more thing I will say is we gave this plan immediately to all of the different constituency groups. We gave it to the Board of Trustees, we gave it to our president, our 4 vice presidents, to say, hey, this is what students are doing in the state of California, and please work with us to integrate this campus-wide. And we want to know what you're going to do. So spreading it far and wide on your campus is one other strategy.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll since someone's raised their hand yet, as you're thinking about this, I want to address something that I did on my campus. I didn't have a chart to go with, but I did take pieces at a time. And the first piece that I took was the forming of a participatory governance. I love participatory governance. I think that it is key to a college's success, is getting diverse faculty, diverse staff, diverse students into the conversation to talk about different issues. So I saw the opportunity to possibly make a participatory governance committee that deals with equity. So I took a look at all of our participatory governance committees. There was a committee that was meeting as a subcommittee of the student services department. So in student services, when you form a subcommittee in any of your departments, it's a committee that deals with an issue and then goes away. And this kind of addresses what Jen said in the chat. We want to see longevity. We want to see addressing the issue for years to come. This issue of equity is not going to really go away. It's only going to take different shapes and different, and it'll take different, just shapes and how you address it. So the equity subcommittee was only going to be tasked for the next couple months to deal with some issues. So I took this to my college president, and I actually went to the subcommittee. And the first day that I was there, I brought up this issue of, we need to have a committee that deals with this on a regular basis. And they're like, we're in, let's do it. So the equity subcommittee, we're actually working on a charge right now that will be, instead of an equity subcommittee, an equity committee that meets and will now be one of the participatory governance committees on our campus. And they will deal specifically with equity issues. And being a participatory governance committee, it stays there in perpetuity, right? There will always be some sort of meetings. There will always be some sort of conversation. So we want to have that be ingrained into the fabric of that college. To address Kelly's point, the Chancellor's Office has received it. A lot of our system partners has received our action plan. I was at the California Student Aid Commission today, CSAC. They received the report. I've presented it to Academic Senate. I've presented it to the Faculty Association. So it's getting out there. The CCLC has seen it. And it's growing legs, because this kind of falls in line exactly with the call to action that the Chancellor had put out a couple months back, and the work that he was doing with the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and calling on all our system partners and all our colleges to work on the DEI action plan. So this falls in line with that. And to address Jen's point, you know, she was asking, we want to see longevity. How can this be implemented? We've sent this out to our regions. Within our regions are all of the colleges. So we want to make sure that all of the colleges, the student body associations, get this in their hands and do what Butte College is doing. You know, make that spreadsheet, start pushing this out to their college committees, to their administration, to their faculty, to their staff. We're working with the Chancellor's Office on implementing some of the steps. Kelly had actually given us a really great idea at the last meeting, and it dealt with sustainability. And in the sustainability sector, there is a program where you can apply for levels of sustainability, right? There's like the gold level, the platinum level, the silver level, the bronze level, and each level has a different requirement. So if you want to apply for a certain level, you have to meet all those requirements in that level. And we were thinking, well, wouldn't that be great to have something along the same lines for equity and for addressing equity on your campus? A program where, you know, there are different levels. Maybe each level has, you know, different types of committees or requirements for committees, requirements for onboarding training and different things like that. So different colleges can apply for a certain level, and then they'd say, hey, you know, like we're a gold level when it comes to addressing equity on our campus. So we're definitely incorporating that within, or we're definitely looking at addressing that. We're incorporating within the Chancellor's Office the action plan. With our DEI work, we actually have a committee that's dealing with DEI and the action plan moving forward, and trying to get it out to each of the colleges. There's not necessarily a timeline. It's paramount to get it out as soon as possible. Let me address this other question. How can the individualized college integrate with their action plan and to be in the line with this one that is being presented and implemented in the SSCCC? Jen, could you actually speak to that?
I hope my mic is working because I had technical issues all day. So,
no, you're good.
So I guess what I'm trying to ask is that I understand that the SSCCC plan might not exactly be the same as, for example, another college. So Sac City, as I've been made aware, has our own equity and diversity committee, which is overseen by faculty members. And I believe, and I hope someone from Sac City is on this call, is part of the academic senate, whereas our own student senate hasn't exactly implemented this plan yet. So when this plan comes out, I understand that there has, or not exactly has to, but there should be some correlation between the two of what the SSCCC's plan is and then the individualized colleges. So how can we make sure that they're in line with each other, but kept, I guess, separate, for the lack of better words, to make sure that the individual college has its own plan, yet it still follows what that SSCCC's plan is, if that makes sense, I hope.
Yeah, that definitely does. So I want to address this. For myself specifically, I want to speak a little bit from experience. I took the plan to my administration, to my faculty. I specifically took it to the academic senate. The academic senate already had what they felt like was a great plan. And within this equity subcommittee, they had what they felt like was a great plan. But I took to them, hey, you were coming at this from a faculty mindset. Here is the student mindset, and let's take this together and let's work on this collaboratively, right? That's what we're here for. That's the whole part of participatory governance, is to participate in the governance of the college, having others contribute to the conversation. So it's not just a faculty conversation, it's not just an administrative conversation, but it's actually a student conversation along with it. I feel like this action plan This is for us at the state level to push with our system partners and then to send it out to our delegates, to our student body associations to use as a resource within their own college, saying, hey, this is what they've adopted at the state level. How can we have this grow legs and take shape within our college specifically? So this really relies on the students. I can't make it to all 116 colleges and say, hey, let's implement this on your campus. This relies on the students within that college to take it to the academic senate and say, hey, we as a 2.1 million students in the California community college system say that this is our plan of action. This is the way that we need to address racism and turn that racism into an anti-racist culture within our campus. So I would say that that's the approach that we should be taking, giving the power back to the students and collaboratively working with our administration and with our faculty to implement this on the campuses. And I think that's why the equity committee itself, you know, the formation of that equity committee is huge because they would be dealing with this. I sent it to the chair of that subcommittee and she was just like, wow, like I'm taken aback by this. This is really great. Like this gives us a foundation for what we need to work with. This is what the students, which is the majority of any college, this is what they're saying needs to happen in regards to racism on their campus. So I hope that addresses your question.
Yes, thank you so much for answering.
Yeah, no problem.
Chair, there's another question from David Bala. The question states, has SSCCC asked the Community College Board of Governance to approve the resolution supporting Black Lives Matter?
You know, David, that's a great question. There has not been a push, not by the SSCCC, to support the Black Lives Matter movement with the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors has issued a resolution in support of our students of color, but they have not taken a stance on the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I'm not sure. I would love to have a conversation with you about that, maybe in a different setting, because I think that's something that we can definitely look into. With this action plan, and I've actually presented this action plan recently to the Board of Governors. They're taking a stance with
I guess chair is frozen. The president.
Yes, one minute while we deal with technical difficulty, please.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. I apologize for that. As you know, as a community college student, your internet doesn't always quite work for you. So I apologize that my computer just shut off on me and turned back on now, but we're working. Anyone want to address that question? What are some of the things that you are working on specifically within your campus that deals with equity, and how can we learn from some of those issues?
I can try and speak on this a little bit. On my campus, I know we have a diversity and equity center. So anyone who just wants a safe place for talking, there's an advisor and 2 students that work there. So they do have peers to talk to or an advisor. They can schedule a separate meeting with them alone, just to kind of chat with them and say, you know, I didn't feel comfortable in this class, or this teacher did this, or I experienced this from another student. And then also within our student government, we have a diversity and equity committee, which has mostly faculty, and there's only a couple students on there, so they do hear what students are saying. And we there's one instance where somebody kind of faced discrimination a little bit within the syllabus of their class, and then since they didn't fill out a certain question, the teacher was consistently failing them and giving them zeros even though they turned in the assignment and they had proof they turned it in. So we just kind of talked about those and how to kind of prevent that from happening in the future. Those are some of the things we have on our campus right now.
Awesome, thank you, Jasmine. I saw in the chat also community dialogue. I think that's great. I know when in the wake of the George Floyd murder, a lot of colleges broke out and started doing town halls, you know, getting students together, just letting them talk it out, you know, what are some of the things that we need to address on our campus. But I haven't really seen that in recent weeks. And I think that still needs to take place, because I think the conversation now should be, you know, how can we not allow that to happen again? How can we address equity on our campus so all students feel welcome? And I think having that conversation is what needs to take place. I do want to speak to something that I've also been working on my campus, and that's the grievance process, or a way for students to file a complaint. My campus right now doesn't have anything like that within my campus doesn't have anything like that at all. Luckily for me as a student leader, I know all my deans by name. I know my administration, and a lot of you I think would probably be in the same boat. You know who to go to if something arises. But I want you to think about the other students that are on your campus. There are a lot of students that go, they take a class and they go home. And if they were to experience some sort of racial profiling, a microaggression in the classroom, comments from their peers while walking the hallway, do they know what rights are afforded to them? Do they know how they can address that? Do they know that there may or may not be a grievance process? I think all colleges need to have a grievance process and ways to address those issues. So I think that's something that I would urge you to look into, because as student leaders, sometimes we can sometimes tend not to look into that because we know the answer to that question, but not necessarily everybody else does. So any other comments, questions?
I see no questions in the chat.
All right. Give it like one more second.
I can go just to
all right, thank you, Jordan.
To piggyback on what everyone's been saying. So for myself, I'm not active in my student association in my college. I'm focusing more on Region 9 and the SSCCC, but I've been having conversations with administrators and faculty because they don't necessarily know that this plan of action was created. So I started talking to them, and I started addressing some of the questions that they had. Also for my region, for Region 9, we cover the Riverside and San Bernardino counties, and we have a very diverse community there. So one of the things that I'm doing in my region to make sure that we are implementing this action plan is, first of all, talking to the delegates and making sure that they understand the plan of action, because if we're able to get them on board with this, and if they understand the purpose of the plan of action, they're able to go back to their student body association and spread the word. So we've been working with the delegates, and then if they need help with explaining it, then I go to their student body associations, and then we start talking about in their shared governance, what is it that we can incorporate from this action plan to your shared governance to implement action in your campus, because we do understand that each campus has their own strategies and ways of implementing action. So it's just talking to the delegates and making sure that the students know, like, hey, we're doing this for you. Just talk about it. I think just talking to whoever has the power, whoever holds the authority on your campus, because we want this to happen, right? So it's just talking to them.
Awesome, thank you, Gerardo. Yeah, it's definitely, we definitely need to get into that conversation, work collaboratively to a mutually beneficial end. Anyone else? Love to hear from some of our student leaders out there on different ways that they might be implementing this or implementing something like this. Rad Region 9. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Anjali.
No, I was like, there is a question in the chat for Rad Region 9. How do the ASOS usually react when you talk to them? How do they respond when having these conversations?
Okay, so far the reactions have been positive. And it's very tricky because you also want to respect sovereignty of each college, right? Like, you don't want to impose something that it's just how you introduce it to their SBA. But the way that I've been doing it is just, first of all, having that conversation, like, the needs of your students, that you need more diverse faculty. And it's just kind of like pitching in something to sell, but we have this action plan. And let me see the second part of the question. How do they respond with having the conversations? And yeah, so far we've been getting very positive feedback. Although talking to administrators and faculty, that's a whole different conversation because they see students doing and they don't necessarily understand our perspective, and they think, oh, it's not feasible what they're doing. But it's just having that conversation, like, hey, we actually got this input from students and we had these town halls, and whenever my team and I have those conversations with faculty, we actually get their attention because they know that we're not making it up and we actually have concrete evidence from the experience from other students. I hope that answered your question.
Awesome, thank you. All right, anyone else? And Kelly, do you want to address what you put in the chat? Go ahead. You're muted.
I really miss having our general assemblies. If we could be, usually about 500, 600 of us in a room together and be working on this, and the energy that comes, the student leadership that is up there, I think the movement would be amazing. And it's like kind of trying to do it through a straw, to do it through Zoom and separated. But I hope that this will be not just now, but a multi-year effort. And I have seen the Student Senate in action over the years, and it's a really powerful body of activists and student leaders. And I think as much as possible to push this through the Senate and the regions, the people that have a seat at the table, I really want to encourage that as much as possible. And some people want to find out, like, who else is doing this work, or if you feel like you're not quite having the skills or tools to be as an effective change agent as you want. There are two things coming up, both on October 3rd. So you got to choose. But Speak Out Student Summit is focused on all of these topics and more. there's bringing together thousands of students from across the nation into a national event that has speakers, workshops, activities. There's a whole long list, Angela Davis, and I mean, all these other and really mind-blowing folks. It's only $20 per person. Anybody can sign up, and the details are listed there. And then Seesaw, which is the California Community College Student Affairs Association. It is a network of student services professionals that are there to support you all as students. And we put on a student leadership conference every year. It's on October 3rd also. That one is $50 per person. And if you go to that link, you can see the speakers and workshops and sign up there. So 2 upcoming things to network and do skill development.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Any last questions or comments?
I see none, Chair.
All right, well, at this time then, I'm just going to say thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate you. My email is president@studentsenateccc.org. I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions that you want to address outside of this workshop. I'm here to help. I'm here to be a resource. We want to see this action plan grow some legs, get into the campuses, and really break down some of those racial barriers to make students of color more successful. That's what we're here for. We're here to represent all students, and I would love to have those conversations with you. Please, if you can, complete the surveys listed in the poll. We would love to hear your feedback on how this went and how we can address it better for years to come. But thank you everyone for coming, and have a great, safe rest of your night.